James Cameron's Avatar Fire and Ash has finally arrived in theatres, and after breaking down the film and sharing my thoughts on it the other day, I've been thinking about the future of the Avatar saga and what could happen in the next entry. Director James Cameron has talked about the potential for the saga to go in a different direction, both with its story and characters, and I think I've got some ideas on what that might mean. So in this video, I'm going to be discussing my theories and predictions for Avatar 4. There will be spoilers from the third film included, so if you do happen to be someone who hasn't caught up yet, then I would recommend watching this video after you've seen it. Before I get into my theories though, if you want to keep up to date on any of my Avatar content, then don't forget to support this upload by giving it a like rating and subscribing to the channel. But without further ado, let's dive into my theories for James Cameron's Avatar 4. So at the end of Avatar 3, we were left in a position where the conflict between the Na'vi and the RDA seems to be at a turning point. The RDA were run through in the early parts of that final battle, and it became a fight between the clans that Jake had assembled against the Ash people, Varang, and Quaritch's recombinant forces. So the most striking implication going into Avatar 4 is that the central conflict is no longer purely Na'vi versus human, but Na'vi versus Na'vi over what survival actually means. The RDA was battered but not fully destroyed, and I think that creates a moral crossroads for everyone involved. While the spirit of Eywa has been defended again, I think the question now becomes whether mercy, coexistence, or total eradication of the RDA and humans is the right path forward. A visual cue that I noticed in Fire and Ash that could support this direction is that the war had forced the Na'vi we follow to contemplate adopting human tools and strategies, creating a sort of ideological shift. Yes, Jake and his family survived, but in what way will their endless wars with the RDA shape how some on the planet feel towards them and the whole situation? What we saw in Avatar 3 was that Varang's Ash people had pure hate for Eywa and those clans who have faith in her. But in the next installment, I think it becomes more about how the clans look at the situation regarding the constant fighting with the RDA. Clans who have lost homelands, children, or ways of life would reasonably see the remaining RDA presence as an existential poison that must be wiped out completely. And with them potentially now having the advantage to finish them, maybe they think that now is the time to act. Whereas others like Jake, Neytiri, their family, and even Spider would probably believe that endless violence will only turn the Na'vi into what they're fighting against. It's important to note that the next movie is reportedly going to have a time jump, as Cameron has said that the child characters are going to be aged up and that the story will evolve slightly differently. So what if Avatar 4 begins with how the tide has now turned? Essentially how the RDA are now basically on their last legs and the Na'vi are disputing over what to do with the rest of them. Do they completely annihilate them, becoming what they fought against, or even risk more wars? Or do they think about the long term and ways to help humanity, maybe even through Eywa, living in harmony with the Na'vi on Pandora? I think the latter option is what Jake and Neytiri will be fighting for, and after Fire and Ash, I think we saw the building blocks with each of their characters to lead us towards this. Jake Sully is no longer just a war leader, but a symbol that different sides will try to align with or even reject. His human origin and use of RDA tactics could make him a lightning rod for resentment among the radical Na'vi factions. After the end of Fire and Ash, Jake and Neytiri are likely no longer positioned as simple war leaders, but as symbols burdened by the consequences of everything they helped set in motion. So in Avatar 4, one plausible direction is that Jake Sully begins to step back from frontline command, not out of weakness, but from a growing awareness that constant warfare is reshaping Pandora in ways that echo humanity's worst mistakes. This could place Jake in conflict with other Na'vi leaders who believe total annihilation of the RDA and the humans is the only path forward. So rather than fighting with arrows and guns, Jake's struggle may become more philosophical in trying to prevent Pandora from becoming a mirror of Earth's endless cycles of violence. And then with Neytiri, having lost so much and facing the emotional strain within her own family, maybe she is challenged to become more of a peace figure rather than someone who despises every human she sees. Just take the connection that was formed between her and Spider in Avatar 3 as a potential example of this, and then also the talk from Cameron of her going to Earth by the time of Avatar 5. While in Fire and Ash she was pushed to the sidelines and was going through a lot of grief, I think in Avatar 4 she's going to have a lot more screen time, and she's going to push in more faith in Eywa in the sense that it connects every living thing, even the humans. She might be one of the bridges between the Na'vi who have faith in Eywa and those who don't, like the Ash people. So I think she'll become less of a fierce warrior type that she was before and more of a peace figure, aligning with Jake in knowing that this cycle of violence cannot continue. Furthermore, when it comes to Loak and the younger generation of characters, with them choosing loyalty to the clan and family, I think this will be looked down upon by the other clans. The opposing clans might think that Jake and Neytiri have corrupted their children's viewpoint towards the humans and have even adopted one themselves. Spider's existence and evolution would therefore embody the truth and direction of it all, in that the line between Na'vi and human cannot be erased through violence, as that just incites more violence and division. Whether it's Loak or Spider, I think we're going to see that they have all grown up a bit with the time jump, and that they have become heavily involved with the Civil War taking shape. I think Loak becomes more of a leader like his father, and while Jake now trusts him in combat and lets him fight for his own more, I think he'll be genuinely worried about the conflict with which they have become more and more involved with. So by the time Avatar 4 begins, I think the tragedy would be that the RDA may no longer be the greatest threat to Pandora, and that division between the Na'vi themselves becomes that new central threat. The ending of Fire and Ash would function less as a conclusion and more as a warning, in that winning a war does not mean winning the future, and survival without unity may cost the Na'vi more than any invasion ever could. So yes, I'm theorising that this will be the central conflict of that fourth film, with the idea of the division of the Na'vi that was introduced in Avatar 3 would be on a much higher level years later. And Jake, Neytiri, their family and those with them see fighting for peace amongst both the Na'vi and the humans as the only way to create a brighter future with no more wars. Getting into this a bit more, if this is the direction Cameron takes, another interesting aspect to consider is what this means for Varang, Quaritch and the Ash people, as they would be put in quite an interesting situation within this kind of conflict. I personally think that the Ash people will be the balance between it all, as a clan that yes doesn't see eye to eye with Jake and the Sullys, but is also starting to change since the end of Avatar 3. I think that the Ash people, Quaritch and Kiri, along with Eywa, are actually going to be the reason the Na'vi Civil War ends, and essentially the reason why we see the Travel to Earth plotline come movie 5. Primarily, I think what happens to Varang and Quaritch at the end of Fire and Ash kind of symbolises that turn. Varang was spooked when Kiri used her Kuru against her, so much so that she ran away from the fight. She obviously didn't believe in Eywa as the other Na'vi do, but I think that this moment was the beginning of a change for her. I think in the next film, the Ash people will almost feel like the group caught in the midst of the ongoing civil war, and they will essentially be the ones to realise what their own kind has become. I think this allows for the process of them transitioning to Jake and Neytiri's side, and I think it also allows for a character like Quaritch to complete his transformation too. Everything the recombinant Quaritch has faced with Spider, and what Jake even said to him about opening his eyes in Avatar 3 would literally come to fruition. And I think Quaritch also realises that the humans won't survive if the Na'vi war ends in defeat for Jake and the Sullys. So I think he realises that the only logical and right outcome for human survival is through harmony with the Na'vi on Pandora. And in becoming more acquainted with Eywa throughout the course of the film, I think his change in ideology is allowed to happen. Now, I don't think the Ash people, Varang or Quaritch will change immediately, but I do think that by the end of Avatar 4, that the clan that was once the hateful one becomes a main reason why the extended Na'vi civil war does come to an end. When it comes to Kiri and Eywa, this is the other thing that I think contributes as well. Over the course of Fire and Ash, Kiri finds a connection with Eywa, who had been shutting her out along with Spider and others. She finds out that she is essentially Grace's clone in Na'vi form and is again heavily connected to Eywa. I'm going to go one step further with this and say that in Avatar 4, I think we find out that Kiri is literally Eywa in physical form. I think that through this experience, Kiri becomes a guiding force for the future of both the Na'vi and also the humans. With Eywa connected to every living being, hence that final shot in Fire and Ash of the planet lit up, I think Kiri understands that the only way forward for both the Na'vi and the humans is for them to both coexist on Pandora and all be connected through Eywa. Essentially, the humans would leave their dying planet and start anew on a planet that opens all their eyes to the possibilities beyond conflict and monetary value in Pandora's resources. And the Na'vi would accept them onto Pandora to live in harmony and evolve with them. I think this is actually the end game of Avatar because it would be the logical reversal of how the series began. Humans came to Pandora to colonize and plunder its resources, being aggressors against the Na'vi there. And by Avatar 5, the quest for Eywa is essentially the quest for peace and allowing both humans and Na'vi to live together on the same planet. So yeah, I think Kiri as Eywa, alongside the changing perspectives of the Ash people, Varang and Quaritch, is what sets the stage for this to be the plot of Avatar 5. So in theorising all of this, what do I think is going to go down at the end of Avatar 4, and how do I think this sets up Neytiri Going to Earth in Avatar 5? Well, I know that I theorised that Jake Sully might have died in Avatar 3, and that didn't turn out to be the case, but I do think that Avatar 4 will be the moment that this happens. I think Jake will die towards the conclusion of that Na'vi civil war, one that has become completely out of control. Even Turuk Makto cannot bring the other clans around this time, and the other Na'vi see Jake as someone who has corrupted their view of the planet, their traditions, and their perspectives of the human aggressors. And this again is all because of his stance on not eliminating the RDA who were left on Pandora. Ultimately, I think Neytiri, her children, Kiri, and those on the Ash people's side are the ones who persuade them to stop. I think Eywa is the key to all of this, and you'd think that demonstrating Eywa as the goddess that connects Na'vis and humans would be a way to convince them that peace between all of them is the way forward. And if it's revealed that Kiri is literally Eywa, that would be a way of making that possible. By the end of Avatar 4, peace may be restored between the remaining Na'vi, and I think that they realise that they have lost so much in that war. Jake Sully dies, many of the other Na'vi on either side have died, and the quest for Eywa and peace would need to be the priority. And you may then ask, how do they go about trying to achieve that peace? Well, this is where the Neytiri Going to Earth plotline comes into fruition. I think Avatar 4 ends with Neytiri and a few others setting off towards Earth for this very reason. Having lost all she has and even Jake, she understands that the only good ending for her and her surviving family and Na'vi is to try and convince the people of Earth that there is a way for both humans and Na'vi to live there. With Earth doomed and Pandora facing a lot of recent deaths, both species cooperating on Pandora would be the logical survival route for the both of them. I think Avatar 5 will thus be a movie of two halves. Half would be on Pandora and then half would be on Earth, with Neytiri fighting for the future of both species. And both planetary plotlines could involve complications and battles for the future of both species. Maybe the Na'vi civil war isn't resolved come the end of Avatar 4, but Neytiri still makes that risky trip to Earth. But that was my video discussing some of the things that I think could happen in Avatar 4. We'll have to see what the filmmaker does, but I think all of the elements of it will be developed in ways that we don't expect. But let me know down below in the comment section what you are personally excited for surrounding Avatar 4 and what direction you think the final two films could go in. For much more videos and news on James Cameron's Avatar saga, then subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like rating and follow me on social media via the links in the description. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.